disaster-prone country is testing people's faith, old and young. And Typhoon Haiyan hasn't finished yet. It could hit Vietnam on Sunday. John Donnison, BBC News, Manila.
With us now is Chris Weeks from the charity World Vision, which has hundreds of staff currently working in the Philippines. Chris, thank you very much for joining us this evening. You've managed to speak to some of your colleagues on the ground, but not all of them.
That's right. Some communications are down in certain places. It is incredibly difficult to coordinate the whole relief effort because some places we just can't get through to our staff. In turn, our staff can't get through to their families. It's making the whole thing very difficult. And
you have hundreds of people who are dropping everything to concentrate on this effort, but they'll still be stretched.
Yeah, indeed. We have 500 staff, and it's hoped that they will manage to reach 1.2 million people in the Philippines. The scale of this just can't be understated, as your report said. The numbers, the estimates of the number of people who have died, who have lost their homes, not forgetting, of course, that some of these are the poorest people who, last month, many of them were just affected by an earthquake. These are the people who need most of the help. Our staff are dropping everything in the Philippines for the next 3 weeks. They're focusing just on this relief effort.
And what is the most immediate priority? I mean, many priorities, of course.
Well, I guess this emergency for us has had 3 phases. So the first was warning people about the onset of the typhoon and warning people to take shelter. And when they're in those shelters to provide emergency relief, that's the stage we're at the moment. It's really basic stuff like clean drinking water and food and hygiene supplies. Those are the things that are desperately needed in these cramped shelters. And then the next phase, of course, people have lost their livelihoods. I mean, farmers, they rely on everything. Their buildings have been flattened, their fields flooded. It's going to take years. Many of them will probably never financially recover.
Do you know the full extent yet of the damage?
The simple answer is no, nobody does. And the main reason for that, of course, is the fact that we just can't communicate with people. Some disasters, you obviously get stuff straight up on social media. Some places are very connected. In the Philippines, that hasn't been the case. So we're continuing to build a picture, obviously, as rapidly as we can. We've got assessment teams out there. World Vision staff are out there assessing with the UN, with the government, with the army, exactly how bad this is, but it will take some time.
And of course, it's not just going to be the Philippines that bears the brunt of this. It's the storm's moving to other countries now.
Yeah, of course, Philippines bore the brunt of this. The winds are at their peak when it made landfall in the Philippines, over 200 miles an hour. The winds are going to be less strong by the time it reaches Vietnam and Laos. But it's not going to be good there either. We are preparing for the worst there. It's also worth mentioning it's in the middle of the rice harvesting season. So again, this could have a very serious economic impact.
And that's because of flooding as much as the incredible winds that this storm brings.
Yeah, there are concerns about flooding, about landslides, and not forgetting, of course, that as with the Philippines, these 2 countries have suffered recently their own disasters, particularly in Laos, where there's been pretty serious flooding over the past couple of months. So this is just going to compound the efforts that are already being made. It's going to make things even worse for the people we're already helping there.
And do you have the money to help all of these people, even if you've got the people on the ground?
We have launched an appeal in the UK for money. There's details of that on our website. The answer, because of the scale of this, the number of people, we've just discussed the fact that we don't know how many people have been affected overall, but it is going to be astronomical. People in the Philippines, of course, are no strangers to these disasters. I was speaking to a colleague yesterday. She said they get 20 severe weather events a year, but she said this one was different. She knew this was different. She said the whole country's scared of how this is going to turn out, how severe it will be.
Chris Weeks from World Vision, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
BT Sport is paying almost £900 million to broadcast Champions League football exclusively for 3 years from 2015.